There's someone in your office that knows everything. They know why Kunle was called into the MD's office last week. They know that the head of operations and the finance manager are not speaking to each other, and they know why. They also know the person that applied at your competitor's building, and they know what was said in the boardroom even though they were not in the room. They are not the CEO, they are not HR. That's Sandra in customer service. And Sandra is running a full intelligence operations from her desk, fully unpaid. Welcome back. Today we're talking about office gossip. One of the most consistent, most damaging, and most completely misunderstood dynamics in the workplace. Now, before we go any further, I want to say something that might be controversial. Gossip is not the problem. Gossip is a symptom. Every office has gossip, every single one. But there's a difference between the natural social chatter that happens between any human group and the sustained, destructive, targeted gossip culture that eats out an organization from the inside out. Today, we're talking about the second kind. And more importantly, we're talking about why it exists. Because nobody becomes Sandra by accident. Here is one of the important things I want you to take out of this video. Gossip fills the vacuum that honest conversations will not. Think about it. When does office gossip reach its peak? When something is happening that nobody is officially talking about. When there is restructuring rumors. When a senior staff leaves suddenly with no announcement. When salaries are changing and nobody has said anything. When a new policy lands in everybody's inbox and there has been no memo or initial context. If people do not have real information, they will manufacture one. And manufactured information passed through enough people becomes its own kind of truth. So when manager complains that people are gossiping too much, the question should be, what are you not telling them? Because I promise you, gossip did not just start on its own. Something created the silence, and the silence created the gossip. Now, let's have a little fun. Every office gossip ecosystem has its cast of characters. And you may know them. You may even be one of them. No judgment. Okay, a little judgment. The first cast of character is the source. This is the person who was in the room, or the person that was adjacent to the person that was in the room. They know the original unfiltered story. The problem is they tell it selectively, and they tell it to people they know can spread it so that they can maintain deniability. You probably know this person, or you are the person. Second cast of character is the amplifier. They did not start it, but they are exceptional at distribution. They have a gift for knowing the exact person to tell to ensure maximum reach. They should be the head of marketing because they are essentially doing marketing, but for chaos, not for the good reason. The next cast of character is a contextualizer. This is a dangerous one. They take a fact, add interpretation, add speculation, add their own opinion, and deliver it as though they are simply reporting the news. You know, in Africa, when we say someone is adding salt and pepper, adding ingredients to it, this is the person. And they will simply say, I'm just saying no, or I'm not saying anything. Or their favorite phrase, did you notice that? These ones are dangerous, the contextualizers. I hope you are not one of them. The next cast of character is the reluctant participants. They would say, I don't like gossip, but then they go ahead to gossip for like 15 minutes. Bless their hearts. Then finally, the collector. These people, they rarely share, they only listen. They are always collecting information about everybody. These are the ones we should be afraid of. Alright, we've had our fun listing the cast of characters. Now, let's talk about what this actually costs organizations, because it is more than most organizations want to admit or talk about. The first thing it costs organizations is trust. Once an employee knows that what they talk about in their one-on-one with their manager will be the topic of discussion in the break room by 3 p.m. They immediately stop talking. They stop raising concerns. They stop being honest. They stop giving you feedback about the culture and environment. And once you lose the honest communication from your staff, you have lost the early warning signal of everything. Performance issues, compliance risk, culture problems, everything goes on the ground. The second thing gossip costs organizations is talent. Your high performers, the people that have options, will not stay in environments that feel unsafe. Gossip is exhausting. Having to manage what you say, who you say it to, and how it might be twisted is a tax on good employees' energy, which they may not be willing to pay for so long. They will simply leave and find somewhere quieter and safer. Third is the person being talked about. Let us not forget that there is a human at the center of every story. Reputations are being shaped, sometimes destroyed by information that is incomplete, distorted, or totally false. That is somebody's career, that is somebody's dignity, and that is not a small thing. We cannot have this conversation in 2026 without talking about the group chats. Yes, that group chats. Most workplaces have a particular relationship with WhatsApp. There is the official work group, which is professional and slightly tense. And then there is the other group chat, the one that the manager or CEO is not in, the one that has the innocent name but is not innocent. You know what I'm talking about. That group is where the real organizational culture lives. And I say this seriously. If you want to know the true health of a team, find out what they're saying in a group that the boss doesn't know about. Because here's what those groups tell you. They tell you what people are afraid to raise, what people feel they cannot say out loud, what they are not being listened to about. The group chat is not the problem. The group chat is the pressure valve. The question is, why is there so much pressure that needs releasing? If you work in a gossip-heavy environment and you want to protect yourself, here is some practical, honest advice. Be boring. Genuinely be boring. The less personal information you share about, the less anyone has anything to say about you. You do not need to be cold. You can be warm, friendly, and present, and still keep your personal life very personal. The people who become the subject of office gossip are usually those that have a lot to share about themselves. Second honest advice, do not be the amplifier. When someone comes to you about information concerning a colleague, the question you should be asking is, does this person need to be telling me this? What is the purpose of this information? If you cannot answer that, then that is gossip. You do not have to engage. A simple, I'm not sure that's any of my business, is effective enough to disengage that person. Third honest advice is document things that matter. It is very important that you document things that matter. If you find out that a gossip about you has done an actual professional damage, a missed opportunity, a changed relationship with your manager, you're suddenly having this bad oral energy from the people high up there, write it down, date it, not to be litigious, but because vague, undocumented harm is difficult to address, and you deserve to be able to address it for your own good. If you're in leadership and you're dealing with a gossip problem, let me save you some time. The all email saying we must maintain professional conduct will do nothing. Nothing. It will become content in the group chat within the hour. What moves the needle is this: communicate more, not less. When something is happening in the organization, even if you can't share every detail, tell people what you can. We're going through some changes and we'll have more information by the end of the month. It's definitely better than silence, followed by rumors, followed by panic, and there's gossip everywhere. Next thing is create safe channels for real concerns. If employees have a way to raise concerns that they actually trust, they do not need to process their anxiety by themselves. The next thing to do as a leader is address it directly when it causes harm. If specific gossip is affecting a specific person, then treat it as a conduct problem because that is what it is. Not dramatically, not with a witch hunt, but clearly and privately with the people involved. Letting it slide because it's uncomfortable sends a message that this is acceptable, but it's not. If this video is speaking the language of what's going on in your workplace, share it in your official group chat and leave no comments. Next week, we'll be talking about the Gen Zs. It's going to be an interesting one for everyone, both the Gen Zs, the millennials, and the managers who are still trying to figure things out. So subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you next week. Bye.